Hi everyone, welcome to episode 35 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about pretty much all things knitting, sometimes crochet and sometimes sewing, although it has been a while since I've done some crochet or sewing, but sometimes that comes up, but it is mostly knitting, lots of knitting and lots of yarn things, so that is the video podcast. I am so happy that you are here today watching on whichever day you're watching, but as I'm filming this, today it is Saturday, June 24th, and I've had a busy day today, so I'm really glad now to just kind of sit down, get to talk about the things that I have been knitting on this past week, and I have a lot of progress to share with you all, and I'm really excited to just jump right into it. So I will start off with what I normally start off with, which is what I am wearing, and I realized I called this a work in progress last week because I did not weave in the ends or block it yet, but all the knitting was done, so it was kind of like half finished object, half work in progress, so I'm going to now, this is officially a finished object. I weaved in the ends and I blocked it, and it's what I am wearing today. So happy that this is done. This is the Sunset Camisole by Sari Nordlund, and the yarn I used was the explorerknits Denali Sock in the colorway Pike Place, and as you can see, I will stand up now so you can see it better. It's this amazing red color, and I will turn around to show you the back. So I really like how this came out. If you've seen like my previous videos where I first kind of casted this on or had the idea to cast this on, I was not sure, I was a little nervous about knitting a garment with a really kind of like bright red yarn because it's the first time that I've knitted with a yarn or a red yarn that was this color. But I knew that it would look really nice in this pattern because Sari Nordlund's first, her first sample of the pattern was in a red that was looked very similar to this red, so I knew that it would look really cute in this pattern, and I am really happy with how it came out, and I think it's really nice, and I'm kind of like thinking like maybe I should make more things in red because it looks really cute. So yeah, again, just very happy with how this came out. Also really happy with the sizing. So this is actually the second time I have made the Sunset Camisole. The first time was for the test knit for the pattern, and I use a sport weight yarn because that is the yarn like weight that is recommended for the pattern. But this is a fingering weight yarn that I use for this version instead. And what I did was I made size 2 in this one is size 2. But I used US 2 needles, which is a smaller needle size than the pattern recommends, and my gauge is smaller than the pattern gauge. So I wanted like measurements of size 1, but because my gauge was smaller, I decided to make size 2, and it worked out perfectly. So after blocking the circumference, and I'll stand up again. So it's actually an A-line shape, so there's increases on the body, but right at the top, right here, the circumference is 27 inches in circumference, which gives me 3 inches of negative ease. So it is still negative ease, so my first version of this had a lot more negative ease, so it was tighter than this version, and it looks fine and it feels fine, but I did want to have something that had around 3 inches of negative ease, and so this version came out exactly like the measurements that I wanted, and I really like how it fits. So yeah, also I think what my first version, the ruffle that goes down the center, I had picked up so I picked up about what I tried to follow what the pattern said to pick up the stitches for, but this time around I wanted to have little bit more of a ruffle, and so I did pick up more stitches than my first version, and so there's definitely more of kind of like this ruffle thing going on, and I really like this really ruffle look. I still like my first version as well, but I am happy with how this one looks as well. So yeah, so that is my sunset camisole. It feels really comfortable to wear and very just loving. I really am kind of shocked at how much I like the red, which is really good. So I am glad that it all came out well. I am planning on wearing this to the Flock Fiber Festival in August here in Seattle with my other knitting friends who are in a knitting group, and we all have this Pike Place yarn to knit something for all of us to be wearing like the same color yarn together. So yeah, so I am glad that I have this ready to go for August, and yeah, that is what I am wearing today. And then I do have a couple more finished objects. I really tried to like knock out some of the projects that I had that were pretty much like really close to getting done. And they're all summer knits. So let me start with this one. This is a test knit for Sari Nordlund. I do love a lot of her patterns, and so I end up test knitting for her quite a bit, I feel like. So this is the Neptune top, and I'm gonna be honest, when I hold it like this, it kind of looks like it's a drawstring bag, but it is a top, and I promise it looks, I don't know why, I don't know, it looks like a bag, but it looks really cute on on a body and not just like held up like this. And so I may be wearing this. I want to wear this on a podcast episode, so maybe next week's episode I could wear it. But yeah, so this is a test knit of the Neptune top, and I test knit size 2, and I used US 3 needles to knit this. And I believe that is the recommended needle size. And then let's see what else. Oh, the yarn, of course. The yarn that I used for this is explorerknits, of course, in the Denali Sock base in the colorway Roma, which is a colorway I got from the La Mercerie pop-up that was here in Seattle. So really glad to have something knitted up with yarn that I got from that pop-up. Yeah, and so that's what it looks like, and I guess I can give a closer look. So there is, it looks like a drawstring bag because the straps do like go through this top part, front and back. There's also a kind of like, I don't know what you would call this opening in the back, but I think that's a really cute like design feature. And I think that I'm still trying to figure out what kind of ease I like in my summer knits, and especially tank tops, because I think I've mentioned this before, but I generally don't like things to feel tight on me, and I like things to be a bit loose. Like, I definitely know I like to have positive ease around my stomach area, and so if things fit too tightly everywhere, I kind of just like don't like that. So for this top, I did knit size 2. I could have knitted size 1 measurement wise, but I did want to test knit the size 2 and just try that out first because it would give me, I think, an inch or 2 of positive ease. But I could maybe experiment. This is another pattern that I want to make another version of, and I probably would make this in a size 1 just so I can have, 2 different looks with the same top pattern. But I think I've never knitted something that there has to be a name for this kind of like construction of the top and the straps, but I can't think of it right now. But I haven't knitted something like this before, and I really like it, and it's really cute, and so I definitely want to make another one. I love how the yarn came out on this. It's came out like very evenly distributed. I did alternate skeins for this one. I don't think I needed to, but it was going to be pretty easy knitting to do it anyway, and so just for being safe, because I feel like people always say you should alternate skeins with hand-dyed yarn, and so I did. I don't think I needed to, but you know, I mean, the result is beautiful, so I'm very happy with how that came out. I can't wait to wear this. It's very cute. And then I think, did I say everything about this? Yeah, so this is a test knit. It reminds me I need to take some finished object pictures and to make sure I update my Ravelry page for this top. But it should be coming out soon, I think, this pattern. So yeah, that is the Neptune top. It is also blocked already, so just in case that was not clear, it is completely finished. Yeah, okay, so that was a really fun thing to kind of like finish up and get done. And then my second finished object for this week is the Luna Tee by Charissa. It's so cute. Okay, and the yarn I used for this was Woolberry Fiber Co. in the Berry Merino base in the colorway Pig Patootie, which was from the Caboose collection. And this was the top that I had planned to make with the Pig Patootie, like the Caboose collection yarn, so that I can wear this also at Flock Fiber Festival for the, I believe that Bethany from Woolberry said that there will be a picture opportunity for everyone who made something to wear with the Caboose yarn to get like a Caboose picture. And so this is the top that I am going to wear, and I am really happy with how this came out. It came out exactly like how I was picturing. I made size 1 of the Luna Tee, and I used US 6 needles, which I believe is the recommended needle size. And I just love how it looks. This is one of those like stitch patterns where because it's kind of ribbed, like it's really scrunched up before you block it, and so now that it's blocked, it looks a lot better and less scrunched. And I did alternate skeins for this one, and I do think that it made a difference because there was one skein that was pretty noticeably darker than the other one. Not in, like, it's just, you know, hand-dyed yarn. There's some differences. But I did feel like I needed to alternate skeins for this one, and thankfully it wasn't really too hard to do that with this pattern. Again, I just really like how this turned out, and it was a pretty easy, relaxing knit. However, I will say, okay, one thing is I did not do any body decreases, so you can do some body shaping which has decreases so that it's more fitted, and like I've said before, I don't really like things to be fitted around my stomach area, so for the body I just kept knitting straight down with no decreases. But when I got to the sleeves, I opted to do the fitted sleeves, which does have decreases, and the sleeves are really short. I followed it to pattern. I did the decreases, and I will be honest, I was a little confused. I guess, I don't know, can you see the decreases that happens under the arm? Like, I was a little confused in the pattern on how to do the decreases. I know someone said in the comments when I was talking about making this earlier in one of my earlier podcast videos that they were also confused about decreases. I think they were talking about the body, but I'm pretty sure they're probably the same or similar instructions for the underarm, and so I was a little confused. I did have to like read through. Sometimes if I am confused, I will try and read through, although you're supposed to read through the pattern. I think a lot of people would recommend that you read through the entire pattern before you start so that you know exactly what's going to happen. I don't tend to do that unless, for example, for this, I was confused. And so I read through the whole section for the sleeves, and in my mind I was trying to figure out like what was actually happening. So I ended up just kind of following but also doing my own thing, and just, you know, I had a feeling on how it was supposed to go, and so I kind of just did that. But other than that, I did have some trouble there, but I figured it out, and since it was under the arm, I don't think, like, even if I messed it up, I ended with the amount of stitches I was supposed to, and you can't really see it because it's under the arm, so it's not that big of a deal. But other than that, I am very, very pleased with how this came out. And again, I think it looks really cute in this colorway. And I know I keep saying this, but this is another pattern that I want to make a second version of. And I feel like there is a lot of, I've lately been feeling like I want to make, if I really like a pattern, I kind of want to make it in, like, have one which is in a variegated yarn and then one in a solid color, which I feel like, I mean, for this top that I'm wearing, this is the solid color version, and my first version was using a variegated yarn, and then, yeah, the Neptune top, which I just showed before this, I want to make a solid color version. And then also for this, like, again, I love this. I love variegated yarns. I love how it looks in this, but I also want one in a solid color. So, yeah, I will probably maybe make another one because I really like how it came out. And okay, so I will say, I was a little concerned with, the pattern does say to use fingering weight yarn, but while I was making this, I was like, it feels really, not really, I don't know if holy is the right word, like, you know, like you can see through it a lot, but in some ways, I think that that's nice, and honestly, I really like the drape of this, so I don't have a problem with it, but I feel like I could possibly also make this in a sport weight yarn. I say as, like, I don't know how many videos ago I said, like, I never buy sport weight yarn because I don't know what to do with it. But I feel like maybe sport weight could work with this pattern as well. I have no idea, but if I ever end up in a position where I have sport weight yarn and I don't know what to do with it, or, you know, I want to make something, that this could be something, like a pattern that maybe I could use sport weight yarn with. So, but I do like the lightness and airiness of this top, especially for, you know, when it gets warmer. It's really nice to have things that are breathable. So yeah, that is the Luna T. Okay, and those were my 2 finished objects, and my sunset camisole, which I guess is also the 3rd finished object for this week. There was a lot of blocking. Well, okay, I say when I block something, I really just lay it flat to dry. I don't have pins where I'm actually pinning it, so, but I feel like that's still kind of blocking, right? When you just lay it flat and at least kind of like move it around to make it the size that you want. So yeah, I did a lot of washing and blocking this week, which is really fun because I love wool wash. Like, I have so much wool wash from Sorella specifically because I love, like, pretty much all the scents that she makes are really good, and I love wool wash, and it makes me actually excited and happy to wash my knits, which is great. So yeah, so there was a lot of washing knits this week. Okay, so on to my works in progress, because there's also some new cast-ons this week because I finished a lot of things this week. So I rewarded myself with casting on new things, and if you saw last week's video, I also got in a huge yarn acquisition, so I really wanted to just cast stuff on with my new yarn. So that is also stuff that happened this week, but let's first start off with showing some progress on things that I have already talked about. First up is, we're bringing it back. Last week, I did not work on my big cozy cardi, but this week I made sure to work on it because I felt very motivated to work on it this week because I really want to have the finished object. So I feel like I got a good amount done considering all the other things that I have worked on knitting wise. It's just a wall of knitted fabric. Okay, so I have my handy dandy stitch marker here to show how much I knitted this past week. I think this has been the most I've knitted in a week on this, at least in a while. So that's pretty good. I love how the stitch pattern looks on the camera. I feel like in person, you can't really see like that texture, but on camera you can see that texture, and I really like that. So that's good. Yeah, so I made good progress, as you can see here. And I am on my third skein of this yarn. The yarn I am using is La Bien May Merino Twist in the colorway Jinju. I love this color, and I like how it's turning out. So yeah, I am making size 1, and I'm using US 3 needles to make this. I just can't wait to get to the Sari portion of this, but I also know that that's going to be a bunch of knitting as well. So yeah, I'm chugging along on this as much as I can to get this done, so I can wear it. This is so much knitting. Oh my gosh. But yeah, progress, little by little, and then soon it'll be done. Okay, next up is my other Andrew Mowry pattern. I also feel like I've gotten a good amount done on this. This is the Straya cardigan, and I finished one sleeve. So I finished the right sleeve here. It's so cute. Okay, I do have my stitch marker on here as well. So this past week I finished this sleeve, which is, I feel like it was maybe, if we look at the whole sleeve, that might be about half. Maybe, well, a little less than half of the sleeve I finished this week. So that was fun. And then I did start on the second sleeve here. I got a few rows of the stripes. So yeah, I've still got a ways to go on that second sleeve, but it should be fine. I, again, just love how happy all of the stripes colors look together. So yeah, and just to recap again, so the yarn I'm using for this, the main color is ampersand fibers in the Caslon fingering base in the colorway Oat 01. And then the stripes are it's the mini set. I'm using the entire mini set from explorerknits, the Seattle tonals. And there are 6 colors, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 different colors. And they're all so cute. The red is the same red as the top I am wearing. So that's really fun. Oh yeah, I could definitely wear this cardigan over this tank top. I feel like that would be really cute once it's done. So yeah, I believe it's just this one more sleeve to go, and then the neck band, the button band. So we're pretty close on this one. And then my next work in progress is this one. Oops. I did forget to put a stitch marker, like a progress stitch marker on this one, but I do remember last time I talked about this, kind of where I was. So that's good. This is the Telopia by Marzena. I do not know how to say her name, but the information is in the description down below. And this is, the yarn I'm using is explorerknits in the Sari alpaca lace base in the colorway Chinley, which is like my favorite color, I think. It's so good. I love it so much. And I really love it in Sari. Here's the back. So I believe last time I talked about this, I was finishing up the front. I think. And then I did not join under the arms last time, so that is for sure. Like, I joined under the arms and I worked a couple or a few inches of the body. So I still have to continue working on the body. But yeah, it's going really good. It's been a while since I have knitted a Sari sweater. So this is 2 strands of Sari held together. It's been a while since I've made like an all Sari sweater. So really happy to have this on my needles right now. It is a new pattern to me, and so this is the first time I am knitting this pattern, and I think it'll be really cute. And if you do look up this pattern, I am not planning on making the little rose baubles on here. I think it's something that if I do ever eventually want to add on to it later, I definitely can, but at least for now, I'm not planning on doing that. But yeah, so this is what I have so far on this sweater. I will hopefully try to remember to put a progress stitch marker on this for next week. And then now I can show you the 2 new cast-ons I cast on from last week, and they are using the new yarns that I did get and I showed in last week's video. So let's talk about maybe this first one. I was so torn between which half and half triangles wrap to knit first, because one of them was using 2 colors of the Coast to Coast yarn that I got, and the other one is using 2 colors of the explorerknits. And I think because it is summer, I definitely had to go for this version first. So I ended up using the Coast to Coast yarn first. I'm still planning on making the explorerknits one, which I love, but it definitely has fall vibes going for those colors. So for summer, I wanted to kind of go with this color. It's so cute. It's so like fun and really like happy looking. And yeah, so again, I am making the half and half triangles wrap by Purl Soho. This is the first time I am making this, and I've been wanting to make this for so long, and so I'm very happy to finally like have this on my needles. The yarn is Coast to Coast yarn. Right now I am starting, so I believe how you work it is like 1 color at a time. So you do like the first half in one color and the second half in the other color. So this first half I am using the Yucca Blossom colorway, and I got the Signature Sock base. And so this is what that colorway looks like in a cake. It's so cute and happy. And there's no, well, okay, I was going to say there's no pink in it, but there's actually like really small hints of pink all around it. But in general, it's not really, you know, a pink color. And so I'm very surprised with how much I do like this, and I enjoy this colorway. I just think it's so cute and fun. And yeah, it's very interesting. So again, this is the first time I'm making this half and half triangles wrap. And the pattern is free on the Purl Soho website, and so I did link it down below if you're interested, and if you also want to make one. And I am making the smaller size, but they call that big. I think it's big and then like extra big, I don't know. So, but I am making the size where you cast on 190 stitches. So we are just going to see, I think my plan is we're going to see how big the size is, and then for any future half and half triangle wraps that I make, I can adjust how many stitches to cast on, and I don't necessarily have to cast on what the pattern says, because now that I know like what the pattern is for this, like it's pretty easy, I believe, to do the same thing with however many stitches you want to cast on. So that's pretty nice that it's very customizable. I feel like you could also even, I mean, you can make this in whatever yarn size you want to, as long as whatever dimensions you want. You might have to like gauge swatch to figure out how many stitches, but it seems pretty straightforward with how to make this. So that makes me very excited. lots of more opportunities to make any size half and half triangles wrap. So that's really fun. I am using US 3 needles. I believe that that is the recommended needle size for this, and since it is my first time making this, I want to just make sure I follow the pattern, and then, you know, future ones I can kind of, what's the word, like, do some extra customizing. I mean, it's not really like fancy customizing, but you know, like change the amount of stitches I cast on and stuff. But for now, just for the first time around, I want to stick to the pattern so I know that I have something that I know I can follow and it'll turn out correctly, hopefully. So yeah, so this is about the length that I have right now. So that's really exciting. It's been, since it's garter stitch, I love that it's just knit stitches. Such a meditative knit, and I love it. So this is really exciting. I cannot wait to cast on my explorerknits one. I mean, I may even cast that one on alongside this one. That's probably not smart because they're both massive knits, and they will both take a long time, so I probably should just do one at a time, but I may just have both of them on my needles at some point. Okay, so that was my first new cast on this week. I do have a second new cast on, and this is the Moon Set Tea by Ozetta. Let me show you what I have so far. Yay! Okay, it's a little scrunched on my needles. I mean, not too much, but I did actually get all the way to connecting under the arms. I only worked a very little bit under the arms, but we are connected under the arms, so now it's just straight stockinette knitting, which is great. And yeah, let me hold it closer. So yeah, so this is the Moon Set Tea, and the yarn I'm using is Coast to Coast Yarn Co. in the signature sock base in the colorway Red Panda. And I am making extra small, the size, and I'm using US 2 needles. And let me show you the back, just so you can kind of see more of the yarn and how it looks. I love how it's coming out, and the speckles are gorgeous on this colorway. Okay, there has been, okay, when I talked about this yarn, and oh, also, real quick, I am alternating skeins for this. I think, and I've mentioned this before, but I think now that I have gotten a better handle on how to alternate skeins, that for the most part, I think if there's not too many like increases or decreases going on in the pattern, I feel comfortable alternating skeins. And since that is probably the safer way to do it, to make sure that everything looks even between skeins, that I will just probably do that for projects, even if I feel like the yarn doesn't need to be all, you know, to alternate skeins. However, for this one, I do feel like it is worth alternating skeins, because if you can see for the back, this section here looks, I feel like, a lot darker than below here, and that is because this one I used only one skein, just because I didn't want to have, I think there's dogs outside. Please bear with me. But yeah, so I feel like you can kind of tell that this is darker because that's one skein, and then I alternated skeins once things started to get a bit easier to deal with knitting-wise, and so I'm okay with how it looks now, but it definitely helped reassure me after doing, because I was for sure just going to do this top part with one skein. I didn't want to deal with two skeins, but it helped reassure me that I should alternate skeins for the rest of the project, because the other skein was less, I guess not dark, but like it is less concentrated in, you know, the sections with the speckles, I feel like. So anyway, I love how it's turning out so far. I think it's really pretty. I love this colorway. Like, I mean, I liked it and that's why I bought it, but like I really, really like it in person. Like I really like it. But here's the thing, right? In last week's video, when I was showing my yarn, all of my yarn acquisitions, I was placing all of the yarn all like in one pile next to me as I talked about it. And then I saw the color combination of Red Panda with the explorerknits Chinley. And I was like, oh, that's a good color combo. I wish I saw it, noticed it, like realized that would have been a good color combo when I ordered this yarn so that I could have had a project with both of the colors together. Yeah, and I've also had some comments where people also agreed they love that color combo. So it makes me a little sad that it didn't happen this time around. I could have changed my project plans so that I could, you know, use Red Panda and Chinley together, but I was really set on having a Moonset Tee in Red Panda. So that is what we have, but I also don't need more Chinley yarn, but if the opportunity presents itself, I may buy more Chinley yarn and just hope that at some point I could get my hands on more Red Panda so I could get that color combination like together in one project because it is very pretty, very cute together. But yeah, for now, Red Panda is going to live on in this Moonset Tee. I think it's going to look really cute. This is my first time making the Moonset Tee. I've made the Moonset pullover or whatever it's called, like the long sleeve version, before. I've actually made that one twice also, but I haven't made the tee. So this is my first time making the short sleeve, like tee version. And I also want to make this a second time. But I should probably wait until I finish this first one to decide on that. But it's another like really great staple piece, I feel like, that you can just knit in all different kinds of colors and it'll all look great to wear as garments. So yeah, that is all I have for my works in progress. I feel very proud that I finished 2/3 if you count the sunset camisole that I finished, and then also made some good progress on my current knitting projects as well. So I also want to cast on so many projects. You know, when I was trying to figure out what to cast on that was new, I could not. I was like, do I just sit and stare at my yarn while I try and figure out which one to knit? Because I want to knit them all. But then I was like, no, I should probably, do you guys do this too, where when you are thinking about what you want to cast on, but you don't want to waste your time just sitting there thinking? So I pick a project where I know I don't need to think too hard, and I knit on that while I stare at my yarn, where I'm like, which one should I cast on? So there's probably a couple hours of that. But thankfully, right, I wanted to make sure I was getting knitting done while I was just sitting there. So knit while I'm staring at my other yarn, trying to figure out what to cast on next. So, but I'm very happy with my choices for this week. Half and Half Triangles Wrap and the Moonset Tee, because both of those patterns were ones that I wanted to knit. And I actually already had the Moonset Tee pattern in my like library. So, you know, it's nice to have, it's nice that when I buy a pattern and I don't immediately cast on that pattern, like it's so nice to cast on a pattern that has been sitting in my Ravelry library for a while. So it all feels really good, and I felt very productive this week with my knitting. All right, now on to our like talk, story, chit chat portion of the video, which will probably mostly always be at the end. So I mentioned earlier that I am a little tired, and there's a lot that happened this morning slash today. And that is because, and I hope that this isn't like getting annoying, but I will be talking about ice skating right now, since that is my other hobby next to knitting. So starting yesterday, so this weekend, but started Friday in like the later afternoon, and then today, which is Saturday as I'm filming this, from morning to about 12 p.m. and then tomorrow from morning to also about like 12 p.m. there is a skating camp. And maybe not camp isn't maybe the right word, because it's not like we're sleeping over and it's not all day, at least for the group that I am in, but it is, you know, for 3 days in a row for a good amount of time, maybe half a day each. There is a skating camp, or summit. They're calling it a summit. And they have split us up into groups, of course, for like, you know, the kids have their own classes they can go to, and then the adults, which is me, have other classes that we can go to. And it's basically, what's really nice is that, of course, because it's a figure skating camp, there are times where we have, you know, on ice classes. So we're on the ice, we're actually skating and have a class, learning some things. And then there's also off ice class where they're either teaching us some new things, like just about, like for an example, like one of the classes was teaching us about how the judging system works for, at least for US figure skating, like how the judging system works, because it's kind of, at least for me, was very much like a mystery. Like, how do they know how many points to give a certain, you know, element? Like, I have no idea. So it was very informative and makes it, I feel like now, like when I do watch figure skating competitions of like the higher level athletes, when they have like their scores going as they skate, like now I have a better understanding on how to follow that and what that all means. And so that's been really cool. Also a lot of like exercise, like off ice exercises, so to help with like either jump technique or like posture. So that's all been really fun. But yeah, so today was the second day of this camp, and I am surprisingly tired from it, even though it was just from the morning to, you know, 12 o'clock. And when I say morning, I think we started like 7:45. So I was at the rink from like 7:30. So it's a good amount of time, but this was my first time doing any like figure skating like camp or like prolonged, you know, multiple classes of sorts. And so I was very excited. I had no idea what to expect. And I've had a good time so far. I think my favorite part about it is just being around my other skating friends, because usually when I see them, we're pretty much just like, you know, we get to talk a little bit while we're putting on our skates. And we go out and practice. We're usually in lessons, so we're not really talking on the ice because we're practicing and, you know, it's training time. So we don't really like have conversations on the ice. We get off the ice, then we kind of like talk while we're taking off our skates, and then we, you know, go home, go to work or whatever. So during this camp, it's been really nice to just be with my skating friends a bit more and just be able to talk to them more. So that's been really fun. And I have learned a lot also for skating, like the off-ice classes for sure has just been like a lot of information about things, you know, like the judging system, what else, like jump technique, which is also something that, you know, we've practiced on ice and off ice, but also just like talked about, like there's a presentation about it, which is really cool. And, you know, all it's been really interesting. And then skating wise, I feel like I am getting a lot out of like, the thing that I'm getting the most out of this camp is like these different exercises that I can do that will help my basis, or like the basics of skating, the foundation, like my foundation of my skating skills. Like, you know, we're not learning anything like new jumps and new spins, but it's just things to work on to help make the things that we can, you know, quote, do, just make it look better, make it more efficient, make it, you know, just better. even though we can do a spin, you know, like how can we make it better? And once we get, you know, the basic like skills even better and more like a strong foundation, hopefully it'll help with once we start doing the more difficult moves, for example. So yeah, there's just so many exercises and like not routines, like what's the word, like drills to do to help with that. And so that's been really fun for me. And there are some things that I have learned how to do and have done for the first time in the camp, which is really awesome. I don't know if anyone who watches figure skates at all, but there is this turn on ice. So like there are so many different ways to turn on the ice. So you can do 2-foot turns, you know, you're skating on one foot and then you transfer your weight onto the other foot, or there's 1-foot turns where you're just gliding on one foot and then you can turn. And it sounds like, how many different ways can you turn? There's a bunch, and I still don't know all of the different ways in skating that you can turn. But, and again, this might be foreign to most of you viewers because we're mostly just all here for the knitting, but there's this thing called 3 turns and they're called that, I believe, because the tracing on the ice looks like a 3, or should I do it like that? And those are kind of like the first 1-foot turns you kind of learn. At least that's the ones that I have learned and I've seen like in the kind of like teaching curriculum, that those are the turns you learn. And there's this other one called brackets. And again, they're called brackets because they look like a bracket it's the tracing on the ice when you skate, like the tracing your blade makes on the ice. And I've never done those before. And the group I'm in, I am definitely like, they tried to split the groups out into like skill level. And I'm definitely, the group I'm in, I feel like I'm in the low end of that skill level. So everyone, I think, seemed like they knew how to do these bracket turns. And I didn't. But I was able to just try it. You know, even if you fall, like, it's okay. I tried them, and they actually were fine. Like, of course, I need to work on them. But I was able to at least get some attempts in that were somewhat decent for first attempts. So that was really exciting. That was yesterday. Today, we were talking about jump technique. And this is when, jumps are jumps. So when you're skating and then you jump, you leave the ice, you go up into the air and you land. And there's usually some kind of rotation happening in this jump. And we're talking about jumps and how to get them higher, like higher in the air. And we're like, let's start with bunny hops, which is this really, quote, easy jump, no rotation, that I think for the little kids, it's like the first jump you learn how to do on ice. It's called the bunny hop. It's very simple because there's no rotation. You're skating forward and then you jump and then you go down. Yeah, I fell today doing a bunny hop. And so honestly though, I wasn't that much like embarrassed by the fall, more just like surprised that it happened because I wasn't doing anything difficult. But yeah, so, you know, sometimes ice skating is just that way. It's the simple things that just wipe you out. So it's just a reminder, always, that ice is slippery. So yeah, but I will say for me personally, I don't fall that often, and it's just because I'm a very cautious skater, which is maybe good and sometimes maybe difficult because that makes learning new things really difficult and slow for me, but that's just kind of how I am. So when I fall, it is kind of like, oh, just a surprise to me. But I will say, I'm very happy that it happened and that I didn't get hurt. So yeah, like, very happy it happened because again, it's like, I never want to fall, but when I do, it makes me feel good that at least I am trying something that is, you know, beyond something that I may be comfortable with, and so it's like I'm trying. It's like shows that I am trying something new or something. So, you know, as long as, you know, I am okay. So, and I'm not hurt. I did fall on my butt, and so I will say my butt I think is going to be bruised. Thankfully not on my tailbone though, because I will say early on before I even started taking lessons, but I was skating a little bit to prepare because I knew I was going to take lessons. I fell on my tailbone, and that was so painful. It made me question if I should even take ice skating lessons, to be honest. But of course I did. I ended up doing that. But when I did fall on my butt this time, I just remember being like, oh, I think my butt is going to be bruised, but at least I didn't fall on my tailbone. And then it happens so fast when you fall that things happen like with instinct. So like I instinctually, is that the word, like put my hands out to catch my fall, I guess. And so my wrists also are a little, actually I think my left wrist is okay now, but my right wrist is a little like sore because I did fall like that on my wrist. So I know that that's not good, and it could be bad, but I think it's okay. But yeah, so I'm just a little sore, but it's nothing terrible. So again, makes me happy I fell, just because it doesn't happen often. So I'm glad I did, so that it shows I am trying. So yeah, tomorrow is the last day for this skating camp, the skating summit, and so again, I'm just looking forward to being with my friends again and learning some new techniques and drills to be able to add, hopefully, to any future skating practice that I do to make me a stronger and better skater. So that's all been really fun. I will say the only sad thing about it is that it does take away all of my knitting time this weekend, and weekends are when I get a lot of my knitting done. I know that I tend to, it seems like I knit really fast because of how much things that I do knit and how much progress I make in general, I guess to some extent. Like, I do get a lot of knitting done, but I think I do knit faster than I used to, but I don't think I knit super fast. Like, I think I knit at a quick speed, but nothing like phenomenally faster than like everybody. But I do spend a lot of time knitting because I don't have other commitments really besides work during the weekdays. And then weekends are usually completely free for me, and so I genuinely spend the entirety of the weekend knitting. But that is not the case for this weekend. So I'm curious to see how much progress I make in next week's video, because I won't have had this weekend to work on stuff. So that should be interesting, like how much knitting I get done just on work days or weekdays, which are also work days. But anyway, oh, and also this past week I had Monday off, so that was another full day of knitting. So that explains why I got so much knitting done this past week to show in this video. But anyway, I'm trying to think what else might be there to talk about. Oh, I know. Okay, so I've mentioned this before, I am going to Explorerknits summer market, which is coming up in a couple weeks, which is crazy to me. I am really excited and really nervous, as I usually am for anything new for me. But she started revealing colorways, and I want to grab them all. I don't know what to do. They're just so good. I really want to get my hands on some of that neon pink, which is crazy because I mean, I love pink, but really bright things, especially neon, isn't something I initially like gravitate towards. But lately I've been loving the brighter colors. I mean, this red was also something I was nervous about, But I'm like, why? Because it looks so good. And so I feel very open now to like different kinds of colors and like tones than I have been in the past, which is also fun, but also dangerous for my wallet if I just like every single color now. But yeah, that neon pink looks great from Explorerknits. And then there's like, I don't know, just all the colors. All the colors pretty much are just so good. There is this color that I am a sucker for like good names of colors. So even if I don't particularly like the color itself, if it has a really awesome name, I'm very tempted. So for example, she has this like orangey color called formaggio, like cheese. And I love cheese. I love cheese. I don't think that there is a cheese that I don't like, except for maybe blue cheese. That can sometimes be iffy. Like I think I can eat it, but sometimes it's like a little too much. But other than that cheese, I haven't met a cheese I don't like. And this also might sound dorky, but like I love cheese so much that for work, I do like computer stuff for work. I have named my virtual machines cheese names. So one is mascarpone and the other is burrata. Like I just love cheese. So anyway, with the yarn, a cheese name for a yarn. I don't know if I can resist. I'm gonna try because I really need to be better about my yarn spending this year. I mean, it's already maybe for the rest of the year because the beginning of this year I just went a little crazy. And that reminds me that Explorerknits also has her winter, is it called winter solstice again? It's the winter boxes. Yeah, I need to figure out what to do. I feel like those go on sale tomorrow, like on Sunday, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, so I need to figure that out. But anyway, okay, we're gonna stop now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've gotten it this far, thank you for staying tuned to listen to me talk about some other things besides yarn, although we did circle back to talk about yarn. So there is that, and I apologize. I think there's like people outside this window here, so I don't know if you can hear them, but hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully you can still hear me. But yeah, I hope that you are all having a great day, and as always, let me know in the comments down below what you have been knitting on while listening or watching this podcast, because I love to hear what you are all knitting on. And if you want, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then I also have my knitting Instagram, which is at arieknits, the same name as this podcast. And then also my Ravelry page. I don't really like check my messages in Ravelry or anything. I usually just use it to track my projects in Ravelry. But if you want to follow me there or look at my projects, because I definitely try my best to have the information for my projects on my Ravelry pages. It might not be as soon as I'm done with a project, but it'll eventually go up there. My Ravelry is also at arieknits, same name as this podcast. So feel free to look at my Ravelry project pages there as well. And yeah, again, hope you're having a great day. Make sure you take a break, quick break, to just kind of like stretch out your wrists and your arms, your fingers for your knitting so that you can continue to knit for a very long time, because that's what I want to do. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.